Welcome to today's lesson on CRS 01. We'll be looking at the Old Testament studies, basically the prophets. So we'll be considering the major and minor prophets, starting with the major prophets. Now, the Bible contains a collection of writings from prophets who were called by God to communicate his message to his people. Now, these prophets can be divided into two main categories, the major prophets and the minor prophets. So, starting with the major prophets, who are the major prophets? The major prophets are a group of 5 books in the Old Testament that contains the writing of prophets who ministered during the period of the divided kingdom and the Babylonian exile. Now, these prophets include Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentation, Ezekiel, and Daniel. Now, starting with Isaiah. Isaiah was a prophet who ministered in Judah during the reign of several kings, including Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. His prophecies focuses on the sin and idolatry of God's people, the coming judgment, and the promise of redemption through the Messiah. So Isaiah's writings are known for their poetic language and their emphasis on the holiness and majesty of God. So Jeremiah was a prophet who ministered. Now I've moved on to Jeremiah. Jeremiah was a prophet who ministered in Judah during the late 7th and early 6th centuries BC, and his prophecies focuses on the sin and idolatry of God's people, the coming judgment, and the promise of restoration and redemption. So Jeremiah's writings are known for their emotional intensity and their emphasis on the personal cost of prophetic ministry. That is why he's known as the weeping prophet in Judah. Now moving on to Lamentations. Lamentation is a collection of poems that expresses grief and sorrow over the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple, but the book is traditionally attributed to Jeremiah, although the authorship is uncertain. Now, the poems in Lamentation are known for their vivid imagery and their emotional intensity over the laments of Jerusalem's fall. Now, to the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel was a prophet who ministered in Babylon during the 6th century BC. His prophecies focuses on the sin and idolatry of God's people, the coming judgment, and the promise of restoration and redemption. And Ezekiel's writings are known for their vivid imagery and their emphasis on the glory and majesty of God. Lastly, we have the book of Daniel. Now, Daniel was a prophet who ministered in Babylon during the 6th century BC, and his prophecies focuses on the rise and fall of empires, the coming judgment, and the promise of redemption through the Messiah. So Daniel's writings are known for their apocalyptic imagery and their emphasis on the sovereignty of God. So now let's move on to the minor prophets. Let's consider or let's know who the minor prophets are. The minor prophets are a group of 12 books in the Old Testament that contains the writings of prophets who ministered during the period of the divided kingdom and the post-exilic period. Now, these prophets include Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. Now, these were the 12 prophets that were known as the 12 minor prophets because they encompass a diverse collection of prophetic voices. Each book were shorter, diverse, and also pass down powerful messages. So, to know the difference between the major and minor prophets, first off, the major prophets had more writings. For example, if you look at the book of Isaiah, it has over 60 chapters, but the book of Hosea just have short chapters. This is one of the major difference between the major and minor prophets. We've come to the end of today's lesson. I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you very much.